I'd like to call the Plan Commission meeting to order on Tuesday, January 25th, 2022 at 5:30 PM. Janelle, could you please take roll call?
Bertel,
Here.
Zosky,
Here.
Gretzmacher,
Here.
Kane,
Here.
Bell.
Not arrived yet.
Okay, and Schmitz.
Here.
Comments, correspondence, and concerns from the public. Is there anybody joining us tonight that would like to address the Plan Commission on a non-agenda issue?
Yes, the Crow's Nest Board of Association would like to.
Okay, go ahead, Wendy.
Thank you for your time. I'm going to read a letter to the commission. Dear Sister Bay Plan Commission members, the Crow's Nest Estates Condominium Owners Association documents were developed with the intent to be consistent with applicable Village of Sister Bay ordinances. Specifically with respect to its landscaping policy, the objective was to be in line with the dictates of section 66.0344 BP, the Bluff Protection Overlay District. A few of the Crow's Nest owners have questioned whether the Crow's Nest landscaping policy is in fact consistent with this section of the ordinance. In response, the Crow's Nest Board asked the Plan Commission to review documents regarding the Bluff Protection Zone intended to be placed on the Crow's Nest owner's private website. Among other things, the documents depicted the Bluff Protection Overlay District's location on the Crow's Nest property. We received word on October 19th, 2021, that the Plan Commission Chair, Denise Berto, had reviewed the documents and found them to be, quote, perfectly correct, end quote, and encouraged the board to post the documents on the association website. The documents were then posted on the Crow's Nest website. What followed were additional questions and comments from several Crow's Nest owners. The Crow's Nest Board of Directors then reached out to the village requesting a meeting with the appropriate committee or commission to clarify the issue. The Crow's Nest Board provided the Planning Committee with a list of questions and concerns that Crow's Nest owners submitted to the board. In response, on January 3rd, the village placed this matter on the Plan Commission meeting agenda for January 25th, 2022. On January 21st, however, the board was advised that this matter would no longer be a separate agenda item, but rather the Crow's Nest Board was extended an invitation to comment on these issues during the public commentary portion of the meeting. These comments are intended to be preliminary to a meeting between a village representative and the Crow's Nest Board of Directors. The essence of the inquiry being made of this committee by the Crow's Nest Board is twofold. What are the boundaries of the Bluff Protection Overlay District within the Crow's Nest property? And two, what are the restrictions, if any, on landscaping activity? For example, tree and vegetation cutting and trimming, etc., within that Bluff Protection Overlay District. The goal of the Crow's Nest Board of Directors is to present accurate information to all Crow's Nest owners in one presentation, rather than having individual owners making repetitive individual inquiries of the commission. The intent of the board is not to contest the ordinance, but rather to obtain accurate information to clarify the situation and to convey that information to Crow's Nest owners. To facilitate this process, the board is requesting a meeting with the appropriate village representative to discuss this matter in sufficient detail to permit a clear understanding. Given the complexity and history of this issue, we do not feel that the public commentary portion of tonight's meeting will provide sufficient time to adequately address the matter. Our inquiry is not driven by any motive other than clarification. We look forward to our meeting. Respectfully submitted, the Crow's Nest Board of Directors, myself, Wendy Halloran, as President, Keith Brandsetter as Vice President, Treasurer, and George Schubert as Secretary.
Wendy, would it be possible for you to get me a hard copy or to email me a copy of that letter so we can put it in the record?
Absolutely, Janelle, I will do that.
Okay, thank you.
More than welcome.
Is there anyone else?
Yeah, this is Todd Enders. I'd like to comment.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, and I want this outcome in terms of understanding where the line of the blood protection zone is. I think it best this not happen in a private meeting between the village and the board, but for sake of transparency with the owners, that this would happen as other issues do with the planning commission, in public setting. And it seems like from reading the code myself that, maybe there is an expert needed in this situation, given the reference to that in the code in terms of an expert or a geologist for these matters.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else?
Sorry, I'm Deb Ritter, and I'm also an owner in Crow's Nest. And the letter Wendy wrote is very nice, but I don't want to be prevented from having a conversation with the Village of Sister Bay on my own. The commentary of repetitive inquiries from homeowners, I think we all should have fair access to the Village of Sister Bay.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, this is Ron Stroker from Stony Ridge Condominiums. I know you have this mosaic on agenda 1 and 2, so I don't know if I can comment at that point in time, or am I supposed to comment now?
We're having a public hearing on the CSM of splitting the parcels. If you would care to comment for or against turning those parcels into 3 separate ones, that would be the appropriate time for that subject and that subject only. If you want to comment on anything other than that, now would be the appropriate time.
Okay, well then and the development is fine. What I'm trying to understand is the roads. And they show on these surveys here, and the extension of Cherrywood Lane and the extension of Northwoods Drive. They're on these surveys here, but it doesn't give a lot of detail exactly, where they're going to be going in and that. So is that a separate survey done by Sister Bay then?
No, I would imagine our Department of Public Works, Dan Klansky, has all of the information. I don't know what it is that specifically you're looking at.
Well, I'm looking at the Mosaic development plans that are included in this packet. And all I'm saying is it just, it has the roads on here, but exactly where they're going to be going in perspective to the Stony Ridge condominiums, because you know that those Stony Ridge condominiums run right along the west side of that development. And, it shows the road on this here, but it doesn't give an exact layout of where that road is going to be.
Sure it does.
So all I'm asking is, are there plans? I mean, this is supposed to start this summer, right? The development of the road infrastructure and everything?
Yes.
Okay, so where and who has the plans for where the roads are going to be going, exactly where the roads are going to be going in, and where they, in conjunction to the lot lines and in conjunction to, in perspective to, the distance from the buildings and all that stuff like that.
I would direct you to Dan Klansky, the DPW of the village, for specific, if you can't figure it out from the plans that are presented, he would be the person to talk to.
Well, okay, and I understand. I can't figure it out because there's nothing marked on here that has, where the roads are going to be going in, besides that 60 feet wide. So, you know, when you're saying like, if I can't figure it out, because it says on here, not to scale. So it, you know, it's showing on these plans for this development, it says that it's not to scale. So, all right, so was it Dan? And sorry, what's her last name?
Klansky, Klansky.
Okay, and do you have a phone number?
Somebody will reach out to you privately with his number.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak? Kimberly?
Hi, thanks. I just had a quick question. Maybe this is not the place to ask it, but I'm the owner of the lot 4, 5, and 6 on the south end of this plat map. The outlot number 1, it says Stony Ridge. Can you see that just south of lot number 2 or the proposed lot number 2?
I don't have that up on my screen right now.
Oh,
so-
sorry. So basically between our property and the proposed lots, there's a retention pond that's not finished. And I'm just wondering if that's being addressed at all and who might own that lot there. It's not real clear on here who has
That lot is still owned by Keith Garrett, Stony Ridge Development LLC.
Okay. So do we have any plans? I'm just concerned that that development is going to need that retention pond to be.
Yes,
Okay.
again, Dan Klansky, the DPW is addressing that issue.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, hearing none. Janelle, would you like to summarize the correspondence, please?
Sure. There was a letter that was received from Mary Kay Shumway, and in her letter, she indicates that it is with deep regret that she finds herself having to resign from the Plan Commission because she anticipates that she will have too many business-related timing conflicts and obligations to attend meetings on a regular basis. There was also an email that was received from Wendy Halloran, and in her email, Ms. Halloran requests that the Crow's Nest Estates Condo Owners Association be allowed to address the Utilities Committee about sewer and water rates, and also be allowed to address the Plan Commission about the village's bluff protection regulations. Finally, there was a letter that was received from Todd Andrus, a property owner at Crow's Nest Estates. In his letter, Mr. Andrus indicates that he and several owners of property at Crow's Nest would like to see the landscaping at that development trimmed and or replaced so that the views of the waters of Green Bay can be protected. But the board of directors of that association has refused to work with them, stating that the area in question is within the village's designated bluff protection zone.
That's it?
Yep, that's it.
Okay, thank you. A motion to approve the agenda. Number 8, the discussion with Chris Schmeltz regarding his intentions with respect to future phases of development on the Sister Bay Marketplace property and related parking is being stricken. He had another engagement this evening and it will be put on our February meeting. So with that deletion, is there a motion to approve?
Make the motion to approve as amended.
Motion by Bell, second by Gretzmacher. All those in favor respond with an aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carried. Is there a motion to approve October 5th's minutes as presented?
I would like to motion that we approve in unison the minutes for October 5th, October 19th, November 15th, November 23rd, and December 7th as published and included in the packet.
Second.
Motion by Zashki.
Second.
Was that Bell?
Yes.
Okay. Any further discussion, comments, corrections? All those in favor respond with an aye.
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 Opposed?
Abstain.
Okay, Kane abstains because he was not here. Thank you, Ron.
Mhm.
Item number 1, public hearing on the draft of a certified survey map that was submitted by Marissa Downs on behalf of Mosaic Development that will split parcel number 181510002A into 3 lots. At 5:45, I will open the public hearing. And let me just scroll through the packet to get to those materials. Is there anyone that would like to speak for or against dividing this property into the 3 lots?
Audrey Cooey, Mark and Audrey Cooey, owners at Stony Ridge. Could Marissa please explain to us what her future plans for those 3 lots are? Is that appropriate?
It is not appropriate. I'm sorry, the agenda item is only the splitting of the parcels into 3, not what may be there in the future.
Everybody, it's Marissa Downs. I'm obviously here in support of the CSM, and if any of the plan commissioners have any questions, I am here to answer them. Thanks.
Is there anybody else in the audience that would like to ask or speak in favor or against? Okay, hearing none, I will close the public hearing at 5:47.
Denise,
Yes.
excuse me, there were 2 letters that were received.
Oh, okay, go ahead, Janelle.
Okay, let's see here. There were emails that were received from Audrey and Mark Cooey, as well as Cesar Fontanini. In their email, Mr. and Mrs. Cooey indicate that they own unit 64 in the building that is located at 14580 Stony Ridge Circle. They're concerned that an extension of Northwoods Drive will negatively impact their property and are saddened to lose their meadow where the flowers bloom and wildlife lives, and ask that the determination is made that there must be a connecting street in that area of the village. And they're also asking that village officials take their current lifestyle into consideration when making decisions on this matter. In his email, Mr. Fontanini indicates that he has 2 major concerns regarding the previously mentioned development: the landscaping that will be done and the type of lighting that will be utilized. That's it.
Okay. Thank you, Janelle. Are there any questions from the Plan Commission for Marissa on the splitting of these parcels?
No.
I'm sorry, this is Ron Strelka again from Stony Ridge. I was on mute and I was trying to get off mute. Can I still ask a question?
Well, I've already closed the public hearing. Janelle, can I reopen it?
If you get a motion to reopen it, you could.
So moved.
Motion by Zashki. Is
Second.
there a second by Bell? Is that correct?
Yes.
All those in favor respond with an aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, carried. Go ahead, Mr. Strelka.
I'm sorry, I was on mute, but in asking the question about dividing the lots, 1, 2, and 3. So how are those currently zoned? And if you're dividing them, can those be rezoned for different usage?
They are currently all zoned R2, which is multifamily.
Okay, so then let me ask the question then, in dividing them, can those be rezoned at a different date, at a later date, if you're dividing them?
there's always the opportunity for somebody to request rezoning of any parcel as long as it would not be considered spot zoning.
Okay, so they're okay, so they're zoned for the development of those, what you just said, single family, but they can be rezoned, I mean, recommended for rezone at a later date. Okay. All right, I'm just kind of wondering along those lines. Thank you.
Sure, yes, this property would be no different than any other parcel in the village asking for rezoning.
This lady
Okay.
could be. What? Bitch. Oh.
Okay, as long as we reopened it one more time, anybody else care to speak for or against? Kimberly?
Hi, I just want to weigh in. As one of the neighbors pretty close to this, I support it. I have no issues with dividing this.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Okay, gone at 5:51. I will close the public hearing and turn it over to Plan Commission members. And if there are no questions pertaining to this for Marissa, Janelle, would you care to read the motion?
Sure. That the Plan Commission finds that the certified survey map CSM that was submitted by Marissa Downs on behalf of Mosaic Development that will split parcel number 181510002A into 3 lots that was reviewed at this meeting should be approved as presented. Therefore, resolution number 482-12-14-21 that was addressed by the village board on December 14th, 2021 shall be processed in its entirety.
Anyone care to make that motion?
I so move.
Motion
Second.
by Gretzmacher, second by Kane. All those in favor respond with an aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Item number 2, discussion regarding and review of the draft of the development agreement between representatives of Mosaic Development in the Village of Sister Bay for the multifamily attainable housing development that will be constructed on the 12.6 acre lot in the Stony Ridge development that has been assigned parcel number 181510002A.
Okay, so this is a draft of the development agreement. Everyone should be aware that it is possible that the Plan Commission could recommend some revisions to that document. As you look at it, there are a few places that are highlighted. The first highlight appears on page 51 of your packet. And that states that if any of the buildings are not constructed prior to January 1st of 2025, minimum assessed value payments could be assessed. I got that date from the memorandum of understanding. Is that correct?
Is Marissa, how do you feel about that date?
That should be fine. That should be fine.
Okay, then the next place that we get to is on page 52 of the packets. Marissa, could you please tell me the name of the color of the siding that you're going to be using? I know it's fiber cement.
Yep. And I think I still have the sample in your office. It should be the blue color is night gray and the tan color is khaki brown.
Night gray, khaki brown. Okay. That's fine. Then how about the trim material?
The trim material, I think I have that in your office as well, but I will, that should be the same. It's the hardy as well.
Okay, so it's fiber cement.
Mhm.
And what color is it?
That will be the khaki brown.
Khaki brown, okay. And then how about the shingles?
The shingle, I left the sample in your office and I didn't have another one of that one.
Okay,
So-
I can check. I know they're architectural, right?
Yep, and the color was noted.
Okay, I will check.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
Okay, then we go a little bit further down on that page to line 38. Is the deadline for completion of any and all components of phase 1 as January 1st of 2025 also acceptable?
Yes.
Okay. Now that's the only place where I needed information. If you guys want any revisions, I can certainly make them.
So how do you want, there were just a few major points that I wanted to clarify. Just some things that maybe were a little bit different from some of the initial discussions with Bo. So is this the place to bring these forward to the Plan Commission now, or?
Yes, please.
Okay, I think the one thing that differs from where Bo had directed us was that he had said that the actual construction of the road, construction of the connections would be done by the village. But this agreement says that I will do that work. So I wanted some clarification on that. I know that Robert E. Lee is designing it, and that is underway. So I just wanted to clarify that.
Okay, I don't think Dan Klansky, our DPW, is on tonight. What page and what line number was that on specifically, Marissa?
So it sort of persists throughout the entire agreement. It's in the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th whereas clause on page 1, where it just says the developer will make and install all public improvements, where that would not be the case, because if the village is doing that work, the village would be making and installing those. And so then talking about sort of that point throughout, because it talks about payment, because it would be done by the developer, then the developer is paid by the village. So there are a few spots where it's just taught, it's written more so in that I'm being reimbursed, or I'm, dedicating the road and other work.
I think you do have to dedicate the road once the work is done, because it's on your property. But
Okay.
I can certainly change the wording so that rather than saying the village, I can say the parties. Would that work?
Well, what about on page 72 or 72 in the packet? The MOU clearly says we're going to do it, the village.
Right.
So should I change it to that?
No, I don't know, Janelle. I think that we should get some legal advice on how to change that wording in the development agreement, and have the village attorney make all those notations in all the different places according to the MOU. I don't think that we should just change it ourselves.
Yeah, I agree, Denise.
We should have people that are smarter do this for us, Denise.
Yes.
That sounds good to me too. I think that that's sort of there. So again, I think there are a few spots where that kind of comes into play, but again, an attorney would be able to fix that up. And so with that in mind, that I think was the big question that I had. Let's grab my notes. Oh, in section 4. Occupancy permits,
Do you know what page that's on, Marissa?
it would be 3 of the development agreement.
It's page
Oh.
52 of your packets.
Thank you, Janelle.
It starts.
Under that section under F. I'm curious if maybe this was a holdover from another project. It's just talking about a rain garden, control basin, and some other things that would need to be complete for occupancy. And I don't know what that pertains to, and if it is something that maybe was an old description from another project.
No, it's just standard. If you don't have a rain garden, it just simply doesn't apply.
Okay. Okay, so that's great. Okay, then just going back to that section 5 that really deals with a lot of the questions on the who's doing what. I think, well, that will be cleared up because in here it says the developer will have a certification from its engineer, but since that's Robert E. Lee, that would be the village's engineer. Also, the stormwater, as we talk about the adjacent pond, since that, I guess I'm just trying to clean up sort of what I would need to have done for occupancy so that it doesn't come back to this agreement and be unclear, since the stormwater would actually is not, there's no retention on site. It's actually on the adjacent parcel, just how that may come back into the occupancy permits to be granted. That may be something that the attorney also cleans up when he reviews it, I'm not sure. The other thing in this section would be under landscaping and site work. My question there is, just as we know where we live, since we can't landscape for a lot of the year, if the building is ready, everything's done, great, everything's good, except for the landscape can't be installed until spring or summer, will an occupancy permit be held until that time?
No,
Okay.
there is a contingency in here that I think, depending upon the time of the year, if you can't do it, the money is put in escrow.
Okay.
And then you do it at the next available appropriate time.
Okay.
That provision is on page 6 of the agreement, Marissa, and it starts on line 4.
Okay, yes, I did see that. I was okay, that makes sense. Okay, well, I think probably the most part is just cleaning up some of the who's doing what. And that would be the bulk of my sort of small comments.
Okay, so I will get in touch with the village attorney tomorrow and talk to him about changing all of those in a marked up version that the Plan Commission and then you can see. Hopefully he can get that to you in a reasonable amount of time. And then we would put this on the next Plan Commission agenda.
One more question, actually. As we've defined the development using the old parcel number, now that the CSM is approved, I'm assuming we would update that to the parcel number that is the phase 1, which is the 4.9. Or specify, I guess, that somehow is being, most of this pertains to that.
What we would typically do is once the CSM is recorded, we'll put the description that's shown on the CSM in this development agreement.
Okay, perfect. Okay, great. That makes sense. Okay.
Okay, and then do you need to, because we need to give approval of the new plan or the revised plans, I guess, after the last meeting that we have where the Plan Commission required some changes. I believe the DPW also needed a wider street, which I believe that has been drawn. Am I correct?
Yeah, it would probably be the cleanest way to do it, just to have a motion to approve all those revised plans that are attached to the development agreement.
So on the revised plans, do any plan commission members have any questions on those revised plans?
No,
No.
Okay, then Janelle, do you have a motion written for?
Yep. A motion was made by whomever and seconded by that the plan commission approves all the revised plans that are attached to the previously mentioned development agreement that was included in the meeting packets as presented.
so moved.
Motion by Schmitz,
Second,
second by Zashki. All those in favor respond with an aye.
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 Opposed? Carried. Okay. That's it for you, right, Marissa? And we'll see you next month.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Thank you. Discussion regarding a request from Julie Schaefer to schedule a public hearing on a proposed certified survey map that will reconfigure parcel number 1810005312811F that has been assigned an address of 10882 North Bay Shore Drive, and parcel number 1810005312811D1 that has been assigned an address of 10884 North Bay Shore Drive. So this is the old what
Beacon,
property?
Beacon Marine.
Yes. The
Yeah,
Beacon
we're-
property.
Yeah, there were 3 parcels and we're just basically putting them all together and dividing it in 2.
Okay.
So if we look at page 90 in the packet and then look at page 92.
Yes, the map is wrong on 92.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, it took the southern property instead of the northern property next to 10882.
I thought they were just trying to annex some more land there. Wow.
Here I thought I was being so smart and it didn't work.
Is there a motion to move this to public hearing for the February meeting?
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Bell,
Second?
second by Gretzmacher. All in favor, respond with an aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Item number 4 is Michael Dobner on yet? No, okay. Item number 4, discussion.
Yes,
I'm sorry.
yeah, I'm here.
Oh, you're there. Okay, we're gonna skip over 4 and take Michael while he's on. Item 5, discussion regarding a request from Michael Dobner to allow the addition of an awning to the upper level of the outdoor seating area at the boathouse, which establishment is located at 10716 North Bay Shore Drive. So we do have a photo on page 101 of that awning. Michael, do you want to give us a little bit more detail? Is this a rollout from the roof? Is it held up
It's
by fence that's up
it's
there?
basically a fixed awning, basically what we have downstairs. Fixed awning up top that the company will construct. We found that the tent that we had upstairs was not conforming as well as that we'd like or would like. So we thought this would be a better fit with the roll-up sides and having it screened at times. But yeah, just basically a metal frame coming off the roof, and then they would put it up in the spring, take it down in the fall.
Okay. Plan
A
Commission.
motion that we approve the awning as depicted in the image in the packet and as described.
Just to make sure we're seeing this right, there's no writing on the awning? It's just gonna be a blue awning?
We thought about possibly putting boathouse on the bay on the downside, but that would have to be approved, obviously.
That's what I was getting at. I didn't want you to, if you were gonna ask that, I thought right now would be a good time, so.
Would that be allowed? We talked about it. There's no definite answer to that, whether we are or not.
So it would be facing the highway?
We'd be facing Anika's.
And it'd be, okay, so the side, okay. I didn't know that was a possibility, so I did not research that.
Well, we just talked about it the other day, but after we got on the planning commission meeting.
Okay.
I know it's been an issue in the past, and
Yeah, it's Tim Crush from the Boathouse, Michael's partner. We had to come back to you guys for the lower awning to do it. If we did it, I think we would probably just have it say Boathouse on the bay. If we could get it approved for that, and if we don't do it, it doesn't matter, right?
No.
yeah,
I'm just looking for it in the code. So,
You allowed us to do it on the lower awning last year.
okay, I'm gonna talk now, Tim.
Okay,
Okay, thanks. All businesses are allowed signage on awnings subject to a permit. Awning signage may include logos, business names, symbols, and wording placed only on the flap. I didn't really see a flap. Awning.
On that picture, there will be a flap. That picture is not very detailed.
Okay. Awning / canopy covering pedestrian or vehicle access areas. Sign shall provide no less than 8 feet vertical clearance between the bottom of the sign and the ground. Finished surface directly beneath the awning canopy. Signage on awnings shall not count towards total signage. So do you think, because that's, I don't know how many feet that might be, that awning is going to stretch
It's about 19.
19 feet. So would you repeat the word, the boathouse, multiple times and fill up the space, or would it be one?
I would think it would just be one.
yeah, I agree.
Okay.
Boathouse, bay, probably right smack in the middle. There'd probably be,
A couple
if I had,
anchors on each
like,
side.
6 feet on each side and whatever, boathouse on the bay and those letters. I can't tell you the foot in length, but it wouldn't be, 20 feet of boathouse on the bay, boathouse on the bay, boathouse on the bay.
Thank you. Excellent choice. Does Plan Commission have any other questions for Michael?
No,
Janelle, do you have a motion?
Yep. A motion was made by Zashki, nobody seconded it yet. By the Plan Commission approves a request from Michael Dobner to allow the addition of the awning that is depicted on the artist's rendering that was included in the meeting packets to the upper level of the outdoor seating area at the boathouse, which establishment is located at 10716 North Bay Shore Drive, and also approves the addition of boathouse on the bay to be centered on that awning.
On the flap, yep.
Okay.
This is Rob's motion at this point, but I would think it would be, I'm leery of saying this is the content exactly that we can put on there. While I think that that's a reasonable thing, I think that we should reference our ordinance, because we do have to worry about some First Amendment issues on that. So
But that's what they're telling us that they want to put on there.
okay. I still don't like putting that in the, like I say, it's Rob's motion, but I would be more comfortable if that was just referencing our ordinance instead of saying this is what it will say. It's the same thing, admittedly, it's kind of splitting hairs, but it's also a legal thing and a First Amendment thing.
I get where you're coming from.
You want me to rescind my motion, Denise?
No, you don't have to, because I'm going to second it.
Okay,
And then we'll take a vote and see how the cookie crumbles.
okay.
All those in favor respond with an aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
So,
Okay.
Thank you.
so Nate wasn't opposed then? Nobody was
I
opposed?
was not opposed. It was a preference, Janelle. It was not a
Okay.
line in the sand.
Okay,
Plus, we know Mike and Tim are good guys. They won't come after us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 6, discussion regarding and review of preliminary floor plans and building elevation drawings, as well as a related site plan that were submitted by Richard and Jeannie Hoffman for the 9-unit motel rental unit that they would like to construct on parcel number 1810063128444P that is located on Chalet Lane. So, Richard, I see that you're with us. Would you like to overview the project for the Plan Commission?
Certainly. Good evening, everybody. First of all, it was an 11 unit. That 9 is a typo. So all the plans that you have or should have do state the correct 11 unit building. What we're looking at doing is building, we own the property next to the Coach Light. It's a vacant lot currently, zoned commercial, and we'd like to build this 11 unit condo unit for short-term rentals. Each unit containing 2 bedrooms, a living room, full kitchen, workout facility for the guests, guest laundry, and a lobby area.
So you would run it differently than as you run the Coach Light?
No, actually it'd be run directly through there, other than probably longer minimum lengths of stay, saying that the guest would have to stay 3 nights minimum or 4 nights, depending on the time of year.
Okay.
Which we already have with some of our larger suites at the Coach Light.
Okay. Does the Plan Commission have questions on the plans that were presented?
Yes. First of all, my calculations say it's too high. From what I can tell, they're going to be over the 35-foot limit on one side, and depending if you do on that lower level, they're going to be way over. And then secondly, there are no renderings, so we really don't have any idea what we're looking at here. And lastly, I don't see on the site plan, I don't see any setbacks. It's pretty hard to read.
Actually, the plans that I dropped off today were at all of the setbacks, and the elevation on the road frontage, which is Chalet Lane, is 33 feet, I believe.
That's to the eaves. That's to the top.
Heidi has them
Correct.
on the computer. Denise, do you want her to share her screen?
Does the Plan Commission want Heidi to share her screen?
I guess what I'd say is that having these documents dropped off today doesn't do us any good for a meeting today.
Correct.
So as much as I'm glad that we've got them, that's good information. I think that we need time to digest them.
Sure. And I apologize for that. I received them last night. I was playing phone tag a little bit over the last few weeks and felt I had enough to go to the builder as of last, I believe it was Thursday or Wednesday. And like I said, I received those last night, dropped them off this morning. So I apologize for that.
And just so that you guys are aware that tonight is just a preliminary review.
Correct.
The guys from Bayland and Rich told me that they intend to present detailed plans. If they get the preliminary approval, then they'll proceed with all that work.
Okay, well, let me go back then though, but I thought the code said 35 to the top, not 30, not 30. So he said he's at 33 at the eve. By the time you get to the peak, you're gonna be over 35.
Correct.
Okay, so they gotta fix that.
Yes.
Okay.
I've got a question on page 116 of the packet.
Sure, Rob.
The renderings, the drawings. When I look at the first drawing at the top left corner and it says east elevation, does that mean that that side of the building that we're looking at directly actually would face east on the property?
Yeah, and Dave O'Brien, are you on the call? I see you. You're muted right now.
I am on the call. By the looks of it, that east elevation that is drawn is not correct.
And then here, so here's my, that is, I get that part in your answer. And then where I'm going with that is if you look at the lower drawing, then it says north elevation. So then if that, and then the whole lower level,
Yeah, basically, if you look at sheet A 2.1, it says the west elevation. It's at the bottom corner. That is actually the east. I do believe I haven't, I just took over this project and I think this building has shifted a couple times when we were laying it out. So apparently the verbiage was not fixed. So that west elevation, wait a minute now. Oh, that's right. West, yeah. The east elevation is what's facing the road. Because north is up.
East
That's right.
elevation is what's facing the road.
Yep, it would be facing Chalet Lane, correct? Right. So that is correct. My bad. My fault. So that east elevation is correct.
okay. And then, so on the next, so then if you look at the way the lower level on A 2.0, the lower level, that drawing suggests that essentially a corner of the building would be raised or set into the ground or the bluff.
That is correct.
Okay, so then let's go from there
Okay.
to A 2.1. Why does that drawing not show a similar straight edge demarcation, but it's got rounded edges on both sides, that and the lower level?
Yeah, I understand
How
where
does
you're
one
going.
side of the lower level look like that and the other side not look the same?
That I know where you're going with that. When this was drafted up and drawn, our architect was trying to use the grades that you can see that are on this plan, the site plan, specifically C 1.0. And he was trying to make a determination on what he thought it was going to look like from each independent view. He's in theory just guesstimating what it's going to look like. We don't know for sure until this plan gets preliminary approved, and then we can get a surveyor out there to shoot those grades, because we don't even know if those grades are accurate. So these what you're looking at are preliminary at best, and our architect's best guess for now. Like Janelle said, if it does get approved to move forward to construct it, the plans would be 100% more detailed than what you're seeing here, with the grade changes showing what is going to be visible from grade and so on and so forth.
And then my only other question would be then in relation to this, the existence of the lower level itself at this point. Is this a design feature that you all feel is, something worthy on its own to this proposed development? Or is the existence of the lower level and the manner in which it would be, in essence, surrounding part of the bluff and an attempt to fit into the height requirement.
No, it's actually because of the lay of the land. There's a large hill there.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Yes.
Any other questions?
I'd like to get some feedback to them since this is preliminary, since they're gonna take this back to the architect. That's a lot of big featureless walls, and there's a lot of ways you guys could do that to break that up. I think it would be far more appealing if that was a little more broken up and it wasn't quite such a large, relatively unbroken space on all that. And I know these aren't super detailed plans, but that's some feedback I'm trying to give you. But when you do go to get those super detailed plans.
Okay. I appreciate that. And I'm not sure if you're looking at the plans that I dropped off today that do show the brick or the stone facade, similar to the property at the top of the old schoolhouse property or downtown.
I'm looking at what was in the packet today, so you're already ahead of me, but.
And I guess the one question I have for you when you're saying that is the breakup of the walls, because the plans you are looking at, if you look at the building footprint, the largest expanse wall to the south is 50 feet. Otherwise, everything. Is that what you're talking about? Because it's like this is kind of like broken up for aesthetic purposes, I guess.
Yes, it's an ask.
Okay.
It is not beyond to the point where it's required by code, but I'm saying it would be more aesthetically pleasing. I'm looking at the east and the west elevations thinking those are very boxy and very plain. And you may have, Richard, what you've said, you've already got some new plans that are going to address that. Maybe that's already a moot point.
Okay. And I guess I do have one question though, too. Since this is on such a sloped piece of property, and you're telling me your code requires 35-foot max height, where's that height coming from? Do we take it from the high side? We take it from the low side, or is it a median? How do you interpret your code with a piece of property that has this hillside being built into? Because I don't want to have you guys preliminary approve it. We come back and a meeting to get it fully approved, and somebody brings that point up.
There is, I don't know if there's an actual formula in the code, but it was what was done with the Door Hotel. And Janelle, do you remember where that is in the code?
Isn't it in the architect, in the zoning drawings or the zoning, what are those called? They're drawings that are in the back of the code.
The illustrations?
Yes, thank you. It shows how to measure height.
Yeah, I don't even have those in.
That's okay. I can look.
The code that we have.
If I could just interject for a moment, that I did meet with Bo prior to his arrival, and I understand he's no longer there, but he said it would be from the street level, and I believe it was to the eaves. But again, I'm sure it's in the code there.
I'm almost positive it's to the peak, and I thought it was the average of the peak, but I would defer to the
I
code.
remember that too, Nate, the
Yeah,
average.
when we were talking about the development behind the coffee shop, we
Right.
were going to the peak.
Yep.
And the only other place there is some verbiage is in the B2 on the supersized lots there, because there's that other property that we were having to, they were able to go higher. But that's B2 only.
It's in here somewhere. We will have to find it.
That's fine. I can look that up.
Okay. All right, then I'll let you look it up.
Yep, that's fine.
Okay. Nate, were you finished? Anybody else?
Denise?
Yep.
There's a gentleman in the audience that has his hand up. Are you going to allow him to ask any questions or?
Not now, no.
Okay.
Have we given them enough to go back and actually draw something that's decent to look at?
Well, I haven't gone through my list yet, Ron.
Yeah.
You want to hear what I have?
Yes, I'm not real happy with it right now.
Okay, well, an architectural control is one of the largest things that that we can ask for. So I am looking at page 111. And just like what we just dealt with the Peach Barn, where they were zoned B1, but then there was residential behind them. So with this commercial lot abutting other districts, and that district is R1, the side and rear setbacks now have to comply with R1 zoning, which is on page 7 of the zoning code. So there's a 25-foot side yard, which is a minimum of 10 on one side, so then 15 on the other, a 40-foot rear yard. But because it abuts another district, they have to have an additional buffer yard of 20 feet. Now, that additional buffer yard would only be on the property that abuts the Ringstad property, and I don't know how to pronounce their name, TBEDT property. So, and from what I can tell on page 111, it is nowhere near, I don't think it's near that side. I don't know. I can't tell because I couldn't read any setbacks. So that will have to be dealt with. Are you going to have to blast to put any of this in?
I don't believe so, but again, once the site engineer would visit the property again, we would know more.
Okay, because there is all kinds of different criteria that you will have to meet if you're going to blast. Okay,
Hey Denise,
yes,
can you go back through those setbacks again? Because I made this call and Janelle can vouch for it. You said the sides were 25 total between the both, but they cannot be less than 10?
one has to be 10 according to the R1 zoning, which you need to comply with the more restrictive code when you abut up to another zoning district.
Understood.
So one of the side yard setbacks would have to be 10.
Okay.
So obviously then the other is 15.
Got it.
And then you would have to have an additional 20 feet buffer yard with whatever property line is butting up against the Ringstad property and the Tevet property.
Which directions are those, Denise? North, south, west?
East.
East?
No, west.
I don't
West,
know.
west and south.
West.
West?
West, yes.
West and south, I need an additional 20 feet each way?
Yes.
On top of the 15, so it's gonna be either 25 or 30? Is that what you're telling me?
Yes.
Holy smokes. Okay. And then you mentioned I'll call it the rear, which would be the west. You said that has a 40-foot setback.
the rear, yes.
Yeah, correct. Now, do I
Yes,
need an
that's
additional?
south.
That would be south.
Yeah, and there's plenty of setback there, so.
Well, and that butts up, I also think, another B1 property.
Yeah, the hair salon.
The hair salon, yes. So you do not need it there. It's
Okay.
only on one side, one property line,
The
the
west side,
Okay,
west side.
where the driveway is currently.
Yes.
okay. Okay. All right.
And your driveway cannot be in that setback area either, or parking.
Okay.
We would also need a FAR calculation. That's the floor area ratio of all the levels, all the square footage of each of the levels, along with the parking, the driveways, and the sidewalks. And that cannot exceed 80% of the lot.
Got it.
And then I had a conversation with Dan Klansky, the DPW, and the fire chief today. And they will not sign off on this project unless you address Chalet Lane. That's a private road that's basically a one lane and it's not paved. They need to have two-way traffic on that road, and it would have to be paved. And just because the Plan Commission may approve a project does not mean if they don't sign off and there's not two-way traffic in a paved lane, the project won't happen, they told me.
Okay.
Denise, since I'm being brought into this project at the last minute here, you're telling me Chalet Lane is a private road, so I'm assuming there are no setbacks from that road then, correct?
There are setbacks.
There are. Okay. So I don't think you mentioned those, Denise. Janelle gave me 45 feet from the center line of the road, which I would assume the center line of the road is the center of the right of way. Is that correct?
Let me get to.
The only reason I'm asking, Denise, is because the setbacks you gave me weren't exactly the ones that Janelle gave me the other day.
Yeah, I didn't think about the adjoining district.
So it says in R1. Front yard, it's 40 feet from the edge of the easement or the edge of the pavement.
So now it's 40 feet from the edge of the pavement.
In the R1, it says 40 feet from edge of easement or edge of pavement.
This isn't R1 though, Denise, this is B1. That's what, at least that's what I was told.
It is B1, but because you abut R1, you have to follow the rules of the more restrictive district that you abut.
Got it. Front from pavement. Okay, that'll work.
And I would agree with others. I did not look at the packet that was sent out later this afternoon to see what architectural renderings or changes were made. But I also think it is bland and boxy and not as attractive as what it could be. So if you've already started making, changes, that's a good indication.
Yeah, the original plans, Denise, were just basically what they've done other areas in Indoor County, and we were going to tweak it. So the current plan that I dropped off this morning has more detail.
Okay. So I think those were all of my comments. I think with the DPW and the fire chief's comments probably being the biggest crux of the project. Because the DPW did tell me that the minimum the roadway should be would be 22 feet.
Okay.
So you may want to talk to him or the fire chief as you move forward.
Sure, will do.
Anybody else have any other comments?
Nope.
So I'm assuming the board has no objections to the use that's on this property, just to, I'll call it, doll it up.
And meet the requirements.
And meet the
Yes.
setbacks and so on.
Oh, yeah. That's, yes,
A given.
that's, yeah, given. I guess what we're looking for is, before we push forward, that the plan commission has no objections to the use. We can make it look presentable and meet the contingencies in your zoning code. We just want to make sure before we push forward with them spending the money that would need to be spent on the civil side of it, that you guys are going to be on board with the development.
For myself, short-term rental in the B1 district makes sense. It is one of the appropriate uses of the B1 district, in my opinion.
Correct. Much rather see it in a commercial district than in a residential. So
Agreed.
I have no objections to the use. I just wonder how many more rooms that this village can handle in general, how many more tourists this village can handle in general, how much more traffic we can handle in general, not pertaining to your project, Richard, but overall.
That does bring up another question. That's what is the plan to for staff? Because with all these new businesses bringing new staff requirements, and staffing is the biggest, what I see as the biggest single issue facing the village right now. Do you have a plan to attract staff or to house staff or or do you think you're just going to keep operating with the existing staffing levels?
No, absolutely. And I've been doing this since the late 80s. Used to oversee over 150 hotels with Marriott and Hilton. And then we've been up here since 2010. So I'm aware of the area and the staffing issues it presents. And we've had no issues. And we do have we have apartments, we have a home for the staff. So that's not an issue at all.
Do you have apartments on the property, Richard, or elsewhere?
Yes. Yep, on the property.
Were those buildings there when you purchased it?
The apartment was, and then we purchased a home behind it also.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I'm glad I asked because I was not aware of that. I don't know there's a way we would know if we didn't. So glad you're taking care of your portion of the issue.
Richard, is it correct to say that there's no plans for a communal area or a gathering spot?
That would be correct, other than the guest laundry, exercise room, and probably a fire ring outside, or a grilling area, something like that, picnic area.
I think we would want to see that, where that was located on the plans.
Sure. It's actually already on a property next door on Chalet Lane that we may just combine that.
Okay.
So then if there's a laundry area, would that specifically be for only the guests in this new development, or would guests across the road be allowed to take laundry over to that laundry area or back and
No.
forth?
Only in the new property.
Thank you.
Yep.
Anything else, Plan Commission members?
I'm good.
So basically we have, do we have general consensus that we have no objections to the use?
I would
No
agree with that.
objections to use.
Okay. All right, so you can begin some additional work, and when you have something for us, we'll put you on the appropriate agenda if timing is right.
Sounds good. Thank you very much.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.
Agenda item number 7, discussion regarding renovations to the building that has been identified as Building 1 on plans that were submitted by Form 1 Design for the property located at 10339 Highway 57, which is known as Time Restaurant and Catering. Do we have Sarah, or who do we have with us tonight?
We have Tim, the co-owner with Carl and Tonda. Good evening.
Okay, so take us through what has changed, Tim, since we
Sure.
last gave approval.
Yeah, so all of from the slide from 120 to 122 and 123, everything's really stayed the same. The only thing we've really changed, or not changed, but more developed, was on page 123, we've added on the back side of the existing garage, which is that one-story building on the far south side, we've added 2 ADA bathrooms. And then we've showed a little bit more of the layout of the tables inside. I believe that's what we're coming to you for, is the approval of the one-story addition on the back side of the restaurant, which you will not see from the road. I'll keep it short and sweet and answer any of your questions. Thank you.
On page 123, you said the bathrooms show up?
Well, that's the site plan. I was just trying to illuminate it. I will go to the actual plans, which is on these are pretty detailed. 127. That's the detailed layout of the existing garage that we're converting into Time Restaurant. Page 127 has just a restroom 1 and 2 on the back side of that existing structure.
Okay, so this is a whole new addition.
It's an addition, correct. It's about 16 foot by 10 foot.
Okay.
And it's completely hidden from the street.
Okay.
And the reasoning we had to make this addition is we're just running out of space within the existing footprint.
Now, did you change or add any tables or additional seating? Because it looks different to me. I did not pull out the old plans to compare. I figured it was just easier to ask.
The inside and the outside, I think, were the same. The outdoor dining on your far right, which is kind of connecting to the building number 2. I think we added some outdoor seating, and we can talk a little bit more about that if needed. So,
okay, because if you add more seating, that affects your parking.
yeah, and I can definitely go through and confirm what we are approved for and make sure that the seats work with the parking. So
Okay.
we also have been reaching out to the across the street neighbor, and then also the Historical Society about overflow parking. Last year, we had a very good year with, all things considered, the restaurant not 100% running. We ran into kind of 1 or 2 days where we had overflow, which was mostly on it was on the day that we gave free to doing the donation for the kids. Sorry, I'm blanking here. We let you guys have the raffle or the donation for the kids daycare. So.
Okay, so why don't you run me through then how many additional parking spaces or how many additional seating you have added, and then
I really, Denise, I don't have the numbers in front of me, so I will double check to see what we were approved for and what we show.
Okay.
Sorry.
Denise, there is a gentleman who has his hand raised.
Okay. iPad 10, you're muted.
Okay, now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. My name is Ron Sens. My wife Barb and I own the property across the road from the establishment you're talking about now. And we have since deeded that property over to our daughter. And I know he's reached out to us about the parking. The only question I have is what the village has in regard if he were to use our property for temporary parking for limited events where he needs it. What is the village's stance or feeling, or what requirements are they going to need in order for us to do that? To allow him to use our property?
I will tell you here momentarily. I believe it's written documentation. Availability of shared parking. The petitioner shall submit written documentation to the satisfaction of the Plan Commission that off-site shared parking spaces are available within 400 feet of the lot line and within the same block to satisfy the parking demand.
Doesn't say anything about it being same side of the road or opposite side.
Shall include copies of any contracts, joint lease agreements, purchase agreements, and other such documentation to show that such shared parking can be accomplished. All such agreements shall be recorded with the Door County Register of Deeds at the applicant's expense, and a copy of the recorded agreement shall be filed with the village clerk. The off-site shared parking spaces shall be clearly posted for the joint use of employees and or tenants or customers of each respective use sharing those spaces. So it's presuming that you're going to share another parking lot. Okay, I think, Mr. Sense, your property is not paved as a parking lot, correct?
No, it is commercial, vacant, wooded, abandoned orchard.
So I don't know, I would have to dig into that further. I don't know that the Plan Commission would, I may be wrong, I'm one person of 6, allow just an open field.
And Denise, this is not weekly being used. This is for when we do have a wedding and they don't rent out the bar and the restaurant. We're doing this proactively. I hope you understand. We're not trying to do this, you know, last minute. You know, we're gearing up for next year, and you know, making it through this year, it worked well. It's going to be way busier next year. So
my question also goes in regards to my land not being paved. How does that different than for Fall Fest? They use the property for parking cars, and I don't know whose land it is, but it's out by the old schoolhouse that's now out there by Woodcrest out there. They use that for parking cars and that for Fall Fest, and that's just a cornfield.
Yeah, I would assume we would ask, you know, if Ron and the census, you know, agree, I think we would possibly be using it about 10 to 15 at the most days out of the year. That's kind of what our, I think our max would be. So.
Okay.
It is
if you want to read the code further, I'll tell you what section it's in. So I know it's hard to comprehend everything that I'm just reading, and you're here
I gotcha.
for the first time. And it's section 66.0404, adjustments to required parking. And you will find
and I think we actually we're fairly confident what we have on site is okay. We're just looking to do overflow, because there's going to be a few events where all three of these, you know, businesses are going to be working. So we just don't want to have an incident where people are parking on the highway, things like that. So,
no, they would get ticketed.
I understand.
Not good for business.
We don't want that to happen, is what we're trying to mitigate all of these issues this summer, because I don't want to be dealing with it, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, yeah.
Is there also a problem with people crossing the highway? That's my question. Is that even allowed?
I could see that being a real safety issue there.
Yes.
Yeah, Nate and everyone, we would hire basically a person to escort them across. We've already got that. If things work out, that's what would happen. We'd have an attendant there until everyone's gone.
Well, I know it's not in the villages, but Maxwell's and Braves has golf carts going across the same highway.
There's a lot of things that happen in Bailey's Harbor that wouldn't happen here, though.
Yeah. I just don't know my question is, what does the state say about that? I guess, you know, who are the highway people?
I don't know that the state really could say anything about it. I don't know that the village could say anything about it. It's how comfortable anybody feels about crossing a highway. I don't think that there's any rule for that. You're allowed to walk on a highway. So
I would just question, so we know what we're talking about if we do go farther into this. I just want to know what laws we'd have to obey.
Sure.
All of them.
All,
unfortunately.
Yes.
So, one other thing that I want to ask and point out to you, Tim, is do you have any bike racks on site? Because while it might seem a little bit far-fetched, you're only about 1,000 feet away from a pretty well, you know, Flint Ridge is pretty well traveled by local cyclists anyway.
Yep, we are putting that together right now. It's going to be next to the Coop building, and yeah, 100%.
And that can impact your parking calculations.
A little bit. I'm not really worried. I'm not worried about bikers. I'm worried about making sure that no cars are parked you know, in the ditch on the highway, or you know, or we get into this issue during a wedding, and you know, we just have to have a secondary option. And our neighbors across the road have been very cool about exploring it with us, and we wanted to just make sure that we're doing this all above board and everyone knows what's going on. So.
Okay, so we're gonna ask you to come back next month with those calculations for the parking and your seating,
Correct.
etc. So then the business at hand really is to approve the addition of the bathrooms on the back of the building, correct, Janelle?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. I will, I'll work with the staff and we'll be back on the next meeting and I'll make sure I have all the information at hand. And thanks for your time.
Okay. Janelle, do you have a motion? Oh, I'm sorry, excuse me. Go ahead, Nate.
That's what I was gonna come to, is the motion.
Janelle, do you want to read it?
Yep. That the plan commission approves the renovations to the building that has been identified as building number 1 on the plans that were submitted by Form 1 Design for the property located at 10339 Highway 57, which is known as Time Restaurant and Catering, on the condition that Mr. Radwins and his associates shall return with parking plans and calculations and seating charts at the next meeting of the commission.
I don't think it's on a condition. I think it's
On
a
that
separate
condition?
issue.
Okay, so then I'll just say further, Mr. Radwins and his associates shall return at the next meeting. Okay.
I so move. Motion by Gretzmacher,
Second.
second by Ron Kane, excuse me. All those in favor respond with an aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. I have to get used to your voice, Ron, when I'm not looking at the
Yes.
screen. Okay, so now we are going to go back to item number 4. Janelle, can you tell me what page that is in the packet?
93.
Oh, thank you.
Okay. Discussion regarding the provisions of the draft ordinance number 289XXXX22 that pertains to the annexation of lands that are currently located within the boundaries of the town of Liberty Grove, Wisconsin, to the village of Sister Bay, and the directive from the village board that the plan commission make a formal recommendation with respect to the appropriate zoning district delineations for the land to be annexed in as timely as fashion as possible. So on the next page 94, it laid out all the criteria or the process that the board and the plan commission have to go through to finalize this annexation. We need to make a recommendation on what appropriate zoning district we feel is appropriate at this time. I think in here in section 5 on page 96, and I don't know why this is, but it's proposed that R3 large lot residence, CS1 countryside, or I1 institutional. Do you know why were all 3 of those put in there? Just for conversation purposes?
I don't know. Did you get that from, you worked on that one, Heidi? Did you get that from Randy?
Those were the recommendations that Randy and Bo had put together. I didn't make any changes. So you don't have to approve or appoint anything tonight, because I know that the Land Acquisition Committee is going to be meeting, and maybe, there's some discussion to be had with them too, but it's just here to kind of keep the process moving and for you to think about.
Well, I've thought about it, and I think there's only one zoning district that's appropriate for everything that has been talked about for that parcel that we're aware of so far. It is to a certain degree temporary zoning until there is a plan of actually what is going to happen out there. I don't know how anybody else feels about the zoning districts and what they would recommend before I say mine out loud.
I was
know what I'm
thinking
thinking.
R3.
David, you're thinking R3?
Yeah, just looking at, seeing some of what I've been kicked around It appears to me that we could do some low-income housing. We could do some essential services, AKA the administration building, and increase the parks. So it seemed to fit. CS1, I don't think we want to get into farming.
Okay, Nate?
I1. We're gonna be doing the admin building there, and only after that will we start doing other uses on there. And I really would like to see, an R4 designation that's been redone potentially apply to that, presuming we do attainable housing on the rest of that lot or parts of that lot. But I think that, to your point, Denise, this is a temporary thing. This is only to keep the annexation process moving, is how I'm perceiving it. This is not, no zoning is set in stone. This one is definitely not set in stone.
Rob?
My question would be, I recall prior discussion about if we might leave some of those cherry trees up as kind of a buffer or a border, and if so, the cherries would have to be cared for, or the trees would have to be, cared for so that they continue to produce cherries, et cetera, and there'd be some upkeep with that. And would that make CS1 necessary because of the farming contingency?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Marge, did you have an opinion?
Well, I like the idea of that Dave brought up about having it be attainable housing out there, or workforce housing. But no, I don't. I'm sort of in a catch-22 trying to decide what the zoning should be. But as Nate pointed out, it's not set in stone, so whatever we decide, it can be changed tomorrow.
Right. Ron?
Yeah, I think this is really premature to rezone it into to a final thing. I would say anything in the R districts for right now would be fine. We haven't even had a report back from your property committee yet, have you? As to what they're thinking of?
Well, we're aware of the meetings that they're having and the conversations, through reading the minutes of what they're talking about. The village board also gave them a laundry list of what we needed from the village perspective. A lot of that is institutional. There's and then additional land for expansion of the sewer and water plant. That's institutional. I guess I would just like to keep this rolling and not drag on according to that list. So I'm willing to move forward with that rezoning now. I'm surprised that we're a little bit all over the board with this. I also think I1 is the appropriate. So I guess, we can just make a motion and take a roll call vote and see how it lands.
Well, I'll make a motion that we zone the parcel in question I1.
Motion by Bell. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Kane. Roll call. Kane?
No.
Schmitz?
Yes.
Gretzmacher?
Yes.
Dashki?
No.
Bell?
Yes.
Berto? Yes. 4-2. Motion carried. Interesting. I think that's the most divided we've been in months.
Hey, David, now, did you say that you think it should be CS1?
No,
Yes.
R3.
No, R3.
Okay.
Is there a chance that we could do multiple zoning out there eventually, once we see what the grand plan is?
I would imagine, David, that as the land acquisition presents to the village board very specifics, a plan is laid out on the parcel where all those ideas, are placed, that there will be most likely portions of that property that will be rezoned something else. If
So-
we work towards workforce housing in a corner of it, on the backside, wherever that may be, I agree with Nate that that should be R4 zoning, which is very small lot or whatever. So each, there are different segments that may be zoned differently. But I think that the bulk of it would stay institutional just because of the sewer and water and the admin building and any parks related buildings that go out there. But yes, I think there will be a piece or two that will end up being rezoned something else.
Thank you.
Rob?
Regarding your point, Denise, about land acquisition reporting to the board, I don't have the designations in front of me, but aren't they set up isn't land acquisition set up to report to parks?
Oh, it could be. I just could have
Okay.
forgot that.
Okay, I just want to make, when we're talking about the structure of moving this commission report, page 94 along and how it actually rolls up, I just wanted to make sure it may go to parks before it would go to the board, whatever they say.
Yes, yes, you are correct.
Thank you.
Do they have a time for reporting?
They do not. I think Chad just scheduled, Janelle, you can confirm the next 3 meetings that they're going to have.
I don't
February
have that
7th.
here at home.
February 7th is the next land acquisition meeting. It'll be at 1 o'clock and it is a Zoom meeting.
And he did set up 2 after that, though, did he not?
I just
Okay.
don't have the calendar in front of me.
That's
April 11th was one of them. I think March 14th and April 11th were the other 2.
Okay, all right. So I'm hoping by the end of this winter that we get something definitive from them. Will have been meeting for close to a year. Okay. So going back to the end of the packet. So agenda number 9, discussion regarding matters to be placed on a future agenda referred to committee official or employee. Do you have anything, Janelle?
Yeah, I've got the public hearing on the proposed CSM for Schaefer's. Then there's the stuff for Form 1. There's discussion with Chris Schmeltz regarding his intentions. And there's also, what else? I thought there was something else. Review of Rich and Jeannie Hoffman's plans whenever they finalize them.
Okay. Okay, at the beginning of the meeting, I'm sorry, I forgot to welcome Ron Kane, the illustrious. Thank you for wanting to be part of this. And we welcome you. I'm happy to see you.
Denise, I did not follow through on what I said I was going to on Sunday night. I got busy on Monday morning and I never called Janelle.
I took care of it.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I didn't want to step on your toes, but I called her and said, did you get an email or a phone call from Nate? She said no. And I'm like, okay, let me tell you.
Great. Thank you so much.
It has all been addressed and it has been removed.
Awesome.
Okay.
And they
All
said
right.
they were sorry.
Thanks, everybody. And is there a motion to adjourn at 7:14?
So moved.
Motion by Joshke, second by Getzmacher. Okay, Marge is cracking up. I don't know why.
Because nobody made the motion. All I could think of is because we're having so much fun.
All those in favor respond with an aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Thank
Bye,
you.
everybody.
Bye.
Denise, can you stay on it for just a moment when everyone
can.
gets on? Thank you.
Okay. Oh, I gotta stop this.